to skip ahead to the intro, so you're not really wasting too much time in just looking at a menu screen, because yeah, it's not the menu Grand Prix, it's the Australian Grand Prix. So yeah, make sure to skip ahead, but we shouldn't be too long anyway. So if you are watching live, come in, say hello, have a chat, whatever it might be, just while we get the stream sorted and I get the stream into the Discord before I get told off by Ethan, which would not be good whatsoever by any means. We have just actually hit, we've gone over 500 subscribers. In fact, we're now on 501, so here's to another 100. And hopefully we can hit 600 fairly soon. Maybe even before Christmas, maybe. Come on guys, get yourselves in. Who are we waiting for? I think we're only waiting for a couple of people, maybe people to get themselves into their car. Hello, hello, who have we got in then? Patty Pack Gang, indeed, yeah. Shouldn't be too long, I think we are indeed ready up to get ourselves ready and racing. So if you are watching post-race, this is where you should be right now, and it shouldn't be too long. Nathan, welcome in, man. Hope you enjoy the stream, and I hope that we have a great race around the streets of Albert Park. So now everyone, we are getting ourselves underway. So hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to UFR. You join us for round number 4 of what has already proven to be a close and thrilling season. Tonight we head down under to the streets of Albert Park for the Australian Grand Prix, a track we often see as the season opener, now won't be seen until at least next year. But that doesn't mean we can't enjoy it online. It's a street circuit in nature which poses a huge amount of twists and turns, ready to punish any mistakes, especially towards the tight, fast chicane of turn 11 and 12. Drivers will need to be on their toes as they negotiate both qualifying and the race today. As always, I am Zach Sweeney, your commentator for tonight, bringing you all the action, and with qualifying almost underway, buckle up and get ready, because it is time for round number 4. Shouldn't be about 5 seconds now, and then we're getting ourselves loaded in. And what I hope to be a fantastic race. I mean, Australia's a very tough circuit for overtaking, but it's not impossible. You can get moves done, but it's all about patience and being ready. and making sure that you're consistent. Consistency is key around every circuit, but more so around tight street circuits such as Albert Park. Yeah, I think everyone's hoping for a race where they don't bin it. I mean, it does help when you actually finish the race, and in fact, I've completely forgotten to turn down the audio, so I'll be drowned out by the noise of the V6s, which is something that I don't think many people would have thought. Anyway, nonetheless, we got cars heading out on circuit now. Who have we got then? We've got William Gaming in the McLaren. Heading out first, he's on a set of soft compound tyres, the Redwall Soft, of course, the ones you'd most commonly see in qualifying if you are new to Formula 1 and are only just checking in the stream for the first time, whether you're a relative or family of someone. Basically, you've got 3 sets of tyres. I mean, you've got 5 compounds, but 3 sets. You've got the soft, the medium, and the hard. These are the Redwall soft compound tyres. The one, as I say, you'll often see in qualifying because they're very, very quick. However, they don't last very long. They're softer rubber, which means under the lateral forces that these Formula 1 cars go under during cornering. I mean, through here, 140 miles an hour, and that's not even as fast as it can possibly go. So that's a lot of strain on the tyres, and the softer rubber gives them a lot more grip, but it grains and deteriorates a lot faster. So they're really quick over one lap, not very good for a long run. So for qualifying, when it's absolutely everything on the table, you just go for the fastest lap. That's when you need the softs. You've then got the white-walled hards, which are basically flip softs on their head. They're slower, but they last very long. And then the medium is a nice in-between. They're the yellow-walled medium tyres, the ones that you can see Nathan and Lasse and Cliff all on now. Those are ones you might see in qualifying if it's strategical. You want to start the race on the mediums, or the track conditions are a little bit too hot, so the softs overheat a little bit too much and you need to go on the mediums. That's a tactic we often see in real life. Look to the 2020 British Grand Prix when both Mercedes went for their Q3 runs on a set of mediums. Nonetheless though, we're here on board with the McLaren of William Gaming, looking to take us around a lap of Albert Park, the street circuit, and down towards turn 1, looking for that black box on the left hand side. Negotiates turn 1 and 2 pretty nicely, down to 5th gear, and then get that DRS open as you make the run down towards turn 3. Again, look for that black box, which will show up the flags. He goes very wide into turn 3. That's really going to hurt his exit. Through turn 4, you've really just got to be committed and not let the car understeer. Again, through turn 5, completely flat out in qualifying trim. Just be committed in towards turn 6 and 7. Bit wide, you want to go 4th gear and absolutely clobber that inside curb. And then through turn number 8, the long right-hander, as you now come towards turn number 9, you've got to chuck it in on that inside curb. Go over this inside curb again. Don't get the rear end out of check as you now go through the long left of turn 10. It really does go on forever. You need to set yourself up well because the toughest corner on the circuit is upon you. Turn 11 and 12, you just got to chuck it in and hope and not do that, because into the barrier goes William Gaming, and a huge crash that is to be expected, and see a lot more of that today, because you get over that curb on the left hand side, get the rear wheel onto the grass or on the curb, and it just unsettles the car. It's bouncing around, and then the car just goes, and once it's gone, you get to that point of no return, and that is where you see, well, things like William Gaming just happened there. Went into the wall. I think he's going to be very lucky that he's still in this qualifying session. You see he's got damage to his front left end plate, and very much a hurt ego, I think, in check for the McLaren. As Dizzy Lizard sets the pace earlier, 1:24.184 for the Aston Martin, a driver we want to see be doing well, because he's done incredibly well all throughout the season so far. The last 3 rounds he's been on form, he's been quick, he's been up there, but a 1:24.1 probably not the pace he wants to be setting. Might need to find a little bit more. On board now with Lawson now towards the finish line as he looks to start his first lap. He's on the medium compound tyre and towards turn 1 and 2, just looking to set a banker lap time maybe, or actually use these tyres for the race. As in fact he's pulling over to the left hand side. As there goes Scott into P1, a 1:20.999, just about managing to in fact get himself off the sub 1:21. On board now with Mister in the Red Bull. What can he do as he crosses the line? It's going to be P2, a 1:22.706 at the moment. So Scott once again setting the pace early on in qualifying. This is now on board with Patterson in the Aston Martin. He's invalidated his lap and won't be going very quickly as he starts another one. On board now with Cliff as he heads towards the end of the back straight towards turn 3. Doesn't look to be on a lap. At this point in time, we'll go on board with Ethan Thomas, then 27.6 to the first sector, not bad at all. Uses the track very nicely on the exit and then through the long turn 8 towards the turn 9 and 10 complex here. Down the gears, third gear, clobber that inside curve. Use the other one on the left-hand side. Just don't do too much, otherwise you really do unsettle the car and can be sent spinning round now through turn 10 again. Completely flat out, just down 2 gears, chuck it in. You have to be committed through here. Any hesitation and you will be spat out. You have to put everything on the line and just give it absolute everything, because as soon as you back out, that's when the mistakes start to creep in. Lawson into P2 at 22.5 on the medium tyre. What can Ethan do? So far been a very tidy lap. Can he match his teammate? Can he do one better? You'd expect him to do better considering he's on the faster tyre, the soft compound tyre that you see a lot of people on. DRS Open as he now hurdles his way towards the finish line, the timing line. And what's it going to be? It's only P4 at 23.221 for the Haas, as he can only just about settle in 7/10 behind his teammate on a softer compound. You have to beg the question if Lawson is really driving the wheels off that Haas at the moment. There's Lewis into second place, a 1:21.712 for the Williams, and that's a little bit higher up than we often see Williams in real life. Though at the hands of George Russell, who knows what Williams is capable of in real life. I mean, he's got it into Q3 now, what, 2 times this season? And a very, very good set of qualifying skills on board George Russell. So Lewis doing a very good job up into second place. Provisionally, still a lot of people and a lot of time left in this session. Here's William Gaming to start another lap. Hopefully he can actually complete the lap this time in the McLaren. And it's so crucial you get a good lap around here, as he's invalidated through turn 2 already. Got over that curve a little bit too much, and qualifying is ever so crucial around Albert Park, because it's a street circuit. Street circuits will always be tough to overtake. Even if you look to ones where maybe we have better racing, such as Montreal, that's still a street circuit. It's still tough to overtake. You've got the long back straight towards 14 and 15. But Sector 1 is slightly tough. Sector 2 again slightly tough. And it's the same story here. While yes, it does produce some good races, it's so tough to overtake. You have to pick your moments wisely. So it's always better to just get yourself into a good qualifying lap, because if you start 14th, your best bet is to just slowly, patiently pick your way one by one through the field, and just be up there, because and while you're doing that, you're losing so much time to leaders. So you need to get your pace up in qualifying. You need to put the laps in where they count, and making silly mistakes like that through turn 2 really are going to hinder your progress. It's just so difficult to overtake at Albert Park, and for the McLaren, he might find that out the hard way if he continues this run of form in qualifying. Still a few people left to set their laps. That's R1 into the barrier at turn 2 on the exit. That's also the Aston Martin, I believe, of Patterson now going past him. And indeed it is also his teammate Dizzy Lizard, who's currently P7, last of those still to set a lap time. P7 and 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th all haven't set a lap time. Cliff, of course, have retired from the session. He's going to be starting at the back of the grid, provided we don't have any disqualifications from qualifying. So yeah, going to be last place for Cliff, and he's going to need to try and pick his way through, as I said, one by one, and see where his pace puts him for the rest of the race. On board then with Lawson, who's coming in to the pit lane. He's probably going to want to go for some soft compound tyres now. He's done 3 laps on those mediums, got himself warmed up, got himself acclimatised to that circuit, and got himself ready for that circuit. His Dizzy Lizard is now going through turn 11 and 12, goes purple to the middle sector, which isn't very long in fact. It makes up a very tiny portion of the circuit in terms of corners, only 1, 2, 3, 4 corners long. Of a 15 corner circuit, so to be fair, it does take up about a third of the circuit, which is fair enough. But Dizzy Lizard now DRS Open as he comes now towards the line. Is it to start a lap or is it to finish a lap? He comes across, it's P5 at 22.786. Sees him put himself into a provisional P5, still behind Lasse Lawson, who is going to be looking to probably challenge Scott. I would imagine so. He's going to want to try and challenge Scott as best he can. Scott's still setting the pace. He's on an outlap right now, and is now looking to improve upon his 20.9 with around about half a quali left to go. 8 minutes 30 on the clock. Still very crucial times for all of these guys to try and get those laps in. Patterson's still on those medium tyres, crawling his way around the circuit in towards turn 5. completely flat in qualifying spec, use that curb on the exit, and then just try and straight line as much as you can. Do not put too much steering angle in through turn 4. Use the brakes really to turn the car in 4th gear. Clabber that inside curb as well, really helps get the car rotated as he now goes past his teammate in towards turn 9. Very too much deep into that one. He just, yeah, he broke way too late. You could see it coming from a mile off. You want to brake between the middle and the final braking board, and he just got it all wrong. A very easy mistake to do, but he's still going around on his lap, which is fair enough, I do suppose. Here's Scott, though, the man currently on provisional pole. Where can he put the car? Of course, won in Hungary. I don't know how he got on last time out. I wasn't here, but I'm assuming pretty well for Scott. Let's see how he gets on. DRS open then, down towards turn 3, very, very quick. These Formula 1 cars, nearly in 200 miles an hour on a very high downforce setup. It's pretty remarkable, and it's not the longest straight either down towards turn 3, so yeah, very, very good. Just goes to put into perspective how good these Formula 1 cars are. Now, Scott ending off the final sector, 2.5 tenths up on his time, goes purple, of course, to the first sector, and now through turn number 8 and towards 9 and 10. Let's see how well he negotiates this. Again, look in really for where the Aramco barrier dents a little bit. That's probably the optimal braking point if you can get the gears down quick enough and utilise that engine brake into the middle sector. Has he improved a little bit more? Yes, he has, by around about half a tenth or so. So committed through 11 and 12. Just gets the car in, gets the car stuck. That's Ryan Kai out of the session through turn 11 and 12. That is not what you want to see, but a very understandable mistake as Scott goes past him in towards sector 3. Turn 13 took that perfectly into 14. Just got to chuck it in and get the car pinned. Goes a little bit over the curb though, and unfortunately does invalidate his lap time. Ethan Thomas, another victim of the turn 11 and 12 chicane, just got caught out a little bit. We'll go on board with Patterson now, and yeah, it just goes over the curb, gets spat out by the wall, and just bounced back into the circuit. That's a very, very easy mistake to do, as I've said time and time again. Get over that curb, and the car just goes round. You try and catch it, but you could be Spider-Man, and you wouldn't be able to catch that with reflexes, because once the car goes, it's gone. And you really just, once you get to the point of spinning, it's just about trying to keep yourself out of the wall, which is smash the brakes on, lock every tyre, and just skate your way and pray. It's literally opposite lock, brake and pray when you spin into turn 11 and 12, because there's no other way to go about it. Patterson, though, at the moment, P8, 24.959, the slowest of those to set a time, as he looks to improve. He's currently on the medium tyres, and currently isn't going very fast in towards turn 3, so we'll be looking to improve in the latter stages of this qualifying session. Say about the latter stages, we are pretty much into those latter stages of qualifying now, around about 5 or so minutes left on the clock. 5 minutes 25, 23, 22, 21 left on the clock. On board with Lawson though, finally getting himself onto those soft compound tyres, and let's see what he can do when he really opens this car up and gives it some. DRS open then as he heads down this pit straight. He's currently P4 and just over a second off pole. Let's see what he can do though. Currently set his time on the mediums, probably around about 7 tenths or so between the softs and the mediums around Albert Park per lap. Hasn't in fact opened DRS, so not sure why he hasn't done that, and he hasn't actually got DRS available, so whether that's a glitch or something. In fact, he's invalidated his lap to the first sector. So Lawson, his first lap on softs, not going particularly to plan, and he needs to buckle it up quickly, otherwise he might see himself a little bit further down the order than he would have hoped. Still waiting for a lot of people to set their times. I think a lot of people are in fact struggling to put in these times. Struggling to hook up a lap or whatever it might be. Purple to the middle sector goes Torsif though, another driver in the Williams we've come to know and have seen do very well. He's very quick in qualifying pace. Let's see if he can really hook it up though into this final sector and see where he can put himself. Again on the yellow walled medium tyres, you'd expect him to be around about maybe settling in just ahead of Dizzy, but then again with 2 corners left to go, we'll have to wait and see. We don't see the live delta, or only he does. 16, 17, DRS open on the run to line. Could be a decent lap actually. 21, there's pole gone. 22 across the line just in front of Dizzy Lizard, but only by 3/1000ths of a second. 22.783 and a 22.786 for 5 and 6 of Torsif and Dizzy Lizard. But don't forget Torsif on those medium compound tyres. He's looking very mightily quick. Lawson once more coming out of the pit lane and looking to improve. Lewis is out of the session. Doesn't think that he can improve or in fact crashed at 10, 12 and 11 and 12. That's probably one of the main causes that you'd expect around Albert Park. The main cause of DNF is that 10, 11 and 12 chicane. It just, you could write an essay on it, honestly, on how lethal it is. You go in, you go over that curb a bit too much, you then flick it to the right. If you get it marginally wrong, you find yourself in a wall. And you either save it once and you go left, or you don't save it enough and go straight into the wall on the right and then bounce out, collect someone else, and then boom. A safety car is brought out. But 29 laps of the Australian Grand Prix tonight, 50% race of course. It would be 58 laps, and that's rain in fact coming down on qualifying. 2 minutes 37 on the clock. It looked very overcast all throughout the session, and now the wet weather has taken a toll, and I don't think anyone is now going to be able to improve upon their times. It's already looking mightily greasy. You can see the cracks in the asphalt already being filled up by some droplets of water. So yeah, Scott has taken the option to retire, and that's why it's so crucial to put those laps in early. You can see Lawson trying ever so hard to improve upon his time of a 22.0. It's P4, it's the second row, and he will in fact start those race on the medium tyres. 3 laps old. That's going to be very, very tough to do something with in the race. And that's why it's so crucial to get the laps in, get the banker laps in, get a decent lap in, because if you're Ryan, Kai, Swoosh, William and Cliff, you are just you're absolutely bugging now. You can't improve. The 3 of them physically can't, because they're not in the session. Is William Gaiman in fact does improve, goes a 21.8 in the wet conditions. That is some lap in the McLaren on those softs, and he's managed to bring it home on a very greasy circuit. For about a decent half of his lap, and a 21.8, definitely a commemorable lap time up into P3. So yeah, that looks to be qualifying over. Scott has just been saved from pole with an awful lap time, which he definitely could have improved upon. He looked to improve upon it the last time we checked in on him. And I think definitely pole could have been a lot quicker today, but the rain had something else to say about it. And luckily for Scott, his first run was good enough for a 20.9, and luckily for Lewis that no one else is is probably going to improve. As Wilson is very much lagging. He was going into like sector 2, and then he suddenly teleported back to the pit lane. Let's see if Dizzy Lizard can improve. Nathan into P3, very marginally, just over half a tenth quicker than William on the softs, 21.822. Let's see if Dizzy Lizard can improve. I mean, it's very greasy, but it's still definitely dry enough for slicks, and I think the rain very much easing off. So it's not getting too difficult or too harsh, the rain. So it's coming down very lightly. So there's still a chance to improve. Dizzy Lizard is going to take his chance and try to improve down towards turn 3 and really give it some. Hopefully he can find himself a little bit higher up than 8th. 3/1000ths of an improvement would see him up a position. Ooh, bit of a squirm through turn 5. Needs around about 7 tenths or so to see him up into the top 6. 2.5 tenths down to the first sector. That's really not going to help his advance whatsoever, as the check flag is now out for qualifying over. A very, very weird end to qualifying. Wasn't too dramatic. I mean, look at the gaps between a lot of people. There's quite substantial ones, especially between first and second. So certainly not the most dramatic qualifying, as he goes purple to the middle sector. In fact, gained a bit of time back. Let's see if he can improve. A little bit squirmy through turn 11 and 12, but manages to hold it. And now on the run, making that shortest run as possible towards turn 13, down to 4th gear, 5th gear to get that traction. You're going to need it in these types of conditions. Chucking it through in towards now the penultimate corner. This little straight before you have to slam on the brakes as soon as you are in a straight line. Third gear, roll it through, gradually build up the power, and don't let the car shift the balance too much. Through the final corner, he's invalidated his lap time. What could it have been? Across the line, it was going to match his lap time, and if he maybe got a bit of a tidier exit, it could have actually been an improvement. But unfortunately for Dizzy Lizard, it's not going to be enough. Patterson goes into P9, a 23.0 in the wet conditions, just about manages to scrape a top 10, and that is now qualifying well and truly over. And what an interesting session we were treated to there. Not the most dramatic, but certainly a weird ending with the rain coming down and people still trying to improve. So respect to them for at least giving it a go, and for some of them it worked well. So now qualifying drawn to a close, but they're now going to go through the grid And it was Scott that got pole position, a 1:20.999, a lap time he wasn't actually too happy with in the AlphaTauri, and the rain come down, managed to save him from pole. He's joined on the front row by Lewis in the Williams in P2, Nathan in P3 with William Gaming in P4, Mister in P5 with Lawson P6, Torsif in P7 with Dizzy Lizard in P8, Patterson and Ethan round off the top 10 with R1D in P11, Ryan Kai P12, Swoosh Rider and Cliff neither able to set a lap time in qualifying. They will make up the back row of what is going to be the Australian Grand Prix, round number 4 of UFR, and hopefully for us it's going to be a fantastic one in store for us. Can only hope for the best. Ethan had 4/10 in the bag, and unfortunately managed to bin it in the wall, and that's a very easy thing to do, as I've said time and time again in this broadcast. It is a very, very lethal circuit. It looks to be dry for the race, so at least there's one fortune that's going to come out of this, is that they don't have to contend with 29 laps of rain. Maybe we'll see some towards the later end of the race, but we never know. We'll have to wait and find out. It doesn't look to be overcast whatsoever, so sunshine over the streets of Albert Park. Now 10 seconds on the clock. And then we'll get ourselves green for the formation lap in just a moment's time. Here we go then, green for the formation lap, one red light on and dropped. And it is Scott that's going to lead us round then for a parade lap. Going to be crucial to get these tyres warmed up and ready for the race. You need to get a good start. It's a very short run towards turn 1 here at Albert Park, but a crucial one nonetheless because of how difficult it is to overtake. If you can gain a couple of places at turn 1 and 2 down towards turn 3, you're going to be in a good spot for the rest of the race. And it's just going to be so crucial for Scott, Lewis, Nathan, William to get a good start. For Lewis, it could be his only opportunity in the race to launch an attack on Scott. It might not be, but you never ever know in motorsport, and you have to take any opportunity you can get, provided it's actually a half decent one. So if you see a gap, you've got to go for it, especially when you're up against such a titanic force like the AlphaTauri, who is just on a completely different league, and when he's on his form, when he's consistent, when he's putting those laps in, he's unmatchable by anyone in this league really, and definitely one of the best ones. I mean, Lawson as well, another driver who's incredibly quick when it comes to both race pace and qualifying pace. I've had the pleasure of racing with him myself, and definitely does give you a good run for your money, I say that much. So too with Scott. So Lawson and Scott probably the two to look out for. Don't forget Lewis, Nathan and William though, all drivers that can be up there, and are in fact up there, 3rd and 4th for all of them, 2nd, 3rd and 4th for all of them I should say, so they're no slouches by any means. Definitely look out for them towards turn 1 then. 14 drivers on the grid. It's Scott on pole, Lewis alongside as we now round up the grid for 5 red lights in the Australian Grand Prix, round number 4 of UFR, with a predicted pit stop strategy, soft to hard, or a soft medium strategy. Either could work. What will our drivers do today? We'll find out in just a moment's time. Scott now takes his pole position slot on the left hand side, the Williams now pulling to the right, the Ferrari to the left, the McLaren to the right. It's going to be a straight dash towards turn 1 by all of them. Now waiting for Cliff at the back of the grid to find his slot on the right hand side. Then the green flag will be waved, and we'll get ourselves 5 red lights illuminating your screen. Buckle up folks, because it's going to be an absolutely fantastic one. I hope you've got your popcorn now. The green flag has been shown. It's Scott on pole. 5 red lights soon to illuminate your screen. Here we go then. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 red lights. The Australian Grand Prix is underway, and it's a great start from Lewis, already pulling alongside the AlphaTauri towards turn 1, but gets a massive tank slapper, so it's Scott that leads from Lewis, but William Gaming looking on the inside, the Ferrari of Nathan looking to go around the outside, goes off the circuit though. William Gaming up a position. It's now Scott from Lewis, William and Dizzy Lizard. I think Nathan has gone round off of turn 1 and he's managed to get going again, but he's very much swamped and very much got a hurt ego, goes way too deep in towards turn 3 and is now under pressure from the Haas of Lasse Lawson, who again has had a very appalling appalling start. Now Ethan getting overtaken by Ryan Kai. They go side by side through turn 5. A very chaotic start, then up and down the field as everyone tries to funnel their way through. There's Nathan looking to the inside. There's Swoosh on the inside of his teammate. Those two nearly coming together. He's going to be on an absolutely appalling exit. Side by side goes Nathan, who's overtaken by Patterson, who's now lining up a move to the inside of the top 10. But we go back to the front then. Dizzy Lizard on the back of William Gaming towards turn 11 and 12. Not somewhere you often see an overtake done, but here comes the Aston Martin. William gives him the space and just doesn't think to fight that one too hard. He's going to go for the switcheroo, maybe towards turn 13, get that run down this straight, but isn't thinking to go for it. Mr. also up there and looking to put that pressure on, but still Scott an incredible lead already, 1.3 seconds as he looks to finish off lap 1. The battle for 6th though certainly on, with Torsif, Ryan Kai and Ethan all in a nice little train behind the Williams. Ryan Kai looking very close, practically pushing Torsif through. Scott leads lap 1. Here's Ryan Kai, the fight for 6th. He's tucked up nicely in the slipstream. He's using his overtake to the right hand side. He goes then, the fight for 6th. And the Alfa Romeo, he's going to go for it. Late under brakes, the Williams sweeps all the way around the outside though. Bit of gravel and a bit of contact maybe between the two as they're still side by side. Bit of contact even more, and although the Alfa Romeo has gone bouncing off the Haas there, and he's now back into the barrier, and the Williams, I should apologise, Ryan Kai has bounced into the side of the Williams, going side by side over the grass, and then just lost the car, managing to carry on going. But definitely not the most ideal way to start off the race, as well as William Gaming, who's also gone off on the exit of turn 5. A big crash for him, luckily managing to keep his wheels nicely connected to the suspension, but a virtual safety car now in effect, with the front nose of William Gaming certainly off. And he's going to need a pit stop to repair that one. He was doing very well, just got caught up over the curb, I think, to the turn 5, and now very much out of contention. Lasse Lawson, who was disconnected from the race, settles in behind him, but the VSC press paused on the race. Hopefully we can get ourselves ready and racing in a very short amount of time, as soon as the marshals have cleared up the debris of Williams' crash, and as well as Ryan Kai, who yeah, he's going to be quite disappointed with that one. It was a good scrap. But he just got over the grass, bounced into the side of the Williams once again, and then just found himself in the barrier, which is a shame. So Torfazif keeps P5 after William Gaming spun off, and Ethan inherits P6. Swoosh Rider and Cliff 7th and 8th. A very chaotic start then to the Australian Grand Prix. Lasse, his internet cut off unfortunately, so he's going to be finding himself driving in AI for the remainder of the race. VSC then should be drawn to a close. That's Cliff out of the race as we go green once more, and a great restart for Ethan, closing on the Williams. Now can he go to the inside of turn 3? Thinks but doesn't send, and I think the two Alpines might have come together. Indeed they have. Cliff out of the session, with Swoosh Rider very much limping around the circuit, so something must have happened between those two off the restart or under the VSC. Here's Torsif and Ethan darting to the right hand side, goes down the inside of turn number 7, just about gets it stopped. The Williams then forced all the way to the exit of the track. Patterson now looking to find a way through towards turn 9, but he's low on fuel and won't be interested in pushing too much. A great opportunistic move from Ethan, just using that drive off the corner. Torsif pulls to the left hand side as Ethan sails his way past and around the outside of turn 10, gets himself ahead. Torsif not fighting that one too much. We're on lap 3 now of 29. DRS has been enabled, and Torsif will have the drag reduction system all the way down this straight, but Ethan's caught off of turn 12, and around the outside goes the Williams. He gets a great drive. The Aston Martin on the inside goes down the inside of turn 13, but brakes way too late. He's off the track and he's on the gravel, and he's skated his way across. He's managed to rejoin safely just ahead of R1D, but unfortunately for Ethan, broke way too late. Luckily didn't go into the side of the Williams, and now finds himself settling in for P8, and off a very shaken Torsif off that battle. Nathan could be looking to put that pressure on, of course, forced off at turn 1 and 2 on the opening lap, and looking to redeem himself, looking to claw his way back up the field, as we've got very large gaps in the field at the moment. Nathan closing on the Williams. Can he send it to the right hand side? Looks, sends, gets given the room, claims the corner, and up the inside goes the Ferrari. The Williams comes back at him through turn 4, but around the outside goes Nathan and stays and gets himself into P6. Torsif going very wide, just about managing to keep that car in control and not spin off. But there's Nathan. He's managed to not keep himself in control. He's into the barrier off the exit of turn 7, and a huge crash as you saw that car very much take off into the air. And a very easy mistake to do. And now a safety car has been brought out, a full course safety car. So Berg Mylander will take the Mercedes AMG around the circuit. A big crash for Nathan, our second retiree of the session so far. And unfortunately for Nathan, finds himself out of this race. A very easy mistake to do, a very unfortunate mistake to do. And after his redemption back to the front, he now finds himself out of the Australian Grand Prix. Scott, though, takes this opportunity to come into the pit lane. Lewis doesn't. Lewis stays out to take the effective race lead. So too does Dizzy Lizard come in, and so too does Mister. Is Ethan also going to jump onto this train and come in? Yes, indeed he is. But for what tyres? Scott going for some fresh softs to maybe get himself into the distance or extend this stint a little bit more. Dizzy Lizard and Mister going for more conventional strategies such as the hard and the medium. So Dizzy Lizard maybe might be able to take them to the end. I'm not too confident. I know Mister will definitely have to pit again, maybe for another set of mediums. That's what he's thinking. So too with Ethan and Patterson, who's going for hards. R1D though going for mediums. So Lewis stays out. He takes the lead of the race behind the AMG. Yeah, unfortunate for Nathan, but the race now brought to a standstill. Press pause and bunch everyone back up, and it should be a very spicy restart because Scott is going to want to get himself back into the race and try and use those soft tyres to propel himself forward and get that gap before now and his next pit stop. But Lewis, he needs to take this opportunity. He needs to keep him behind. Yeah, slowly crawling back, but just not enough, and pushing it a bit too hard maybe through turn 7 on the exit, just getting a bit caught up over the curb and around you go. As I said many times, Albert Park will spit you out if it gets the chance to, as Torsiv gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings under a safety car. So no time gained for him, but it'll be time lost when the checkered flag falls. The first man to get a penalty in this race. It's 3 seconds. Of course, you get 3 warnings, or I should say you get 2 warnings for exceeding track limits. On the third, you then get your 3-second time penalty, which is then added on to your time at the end of the race. So Torsiv, that could cost him a position. Lasse's car is in fact up in P5, but it's ghosted. Soft medium, I mean, if you can take these softs for a good 10 laps, I'd say maybe, yeah. 8, I'd say if you can get them to lap 14, maybe you'll go to the end on mediums. Lap 13, maybe. You need to stretch these softs, but it might work, who knows, we'll see how he gets on. Don't forget, safety cars breed safety cars. You might count yourself lucky in a few laps time. Torsiv coming into the pit lane, going for a change of tyres once more. But what is he going to change onto? Again, he's going for the hards. So he's coming again, he's changed his mind, he's come in, he's brought the hards on. So not confident, like Scott, that he can get very far or do an ideal strategy with a new set of softs, but he's now going to have to rejoin the back of the queue in last place, in 12th place, and just hope that this strategy gets him higher up in the grid, and hopefully that he can use that pace that he's got, clearly has got, being as high as P5 at one point in this race. So definitely there on pace. Just a case of whether or not he can convert that and consistently do it. His battling has been there. He's been very aggressive but very clean, and has managed to deter a lot of people from getting past him. So it is Lewis that leads away under safety car with a Scott P2, Dizzy Lizard P3 with Swoosh from last on the grid up into P4 already. Lawson's AI in P5 with Mister in P6, Ethan P7 with Patterson in P8. You've got 2 Ethans in 7th and 8th. Let's just hope that they don't go fighting once more, because it's going to get very confusing for me. R1D in P9 with Ryan Kai rounding off the top 10. William Gaming and Torsif 11th and 12th with Nathan and Cliff, both unfortunately having a premature end to this race. But we get ourselves underway in just a few moments time. Safety car in this lap. Lewis becomes the effective safety car. You can see backing off already, weaving around, getting some temperature into those tyres through the final sector. He controls the pace, and when the safety car comes in, he then dictates whether or not he can punch it. And he's got between, I think, when the safety car light goes off and the safety car's in the pit lane, between then and the timing line, what he can't do is punch it and then stop, because that's going to be very, very dangerous indeed. Now coming towards turn 15, where he's going to have to weave around. You can see Scott wants to get himself going, but he's punched it. Has he Yes, he has through the final corner. We're back on the green flag racing. He's really caught Scott out there. And Scott's gone round, he's gone over the curb off the restart. The AlphaTauri on cold tyres goes over the curb, reset to track, but he's tumbling down the order as we go green once more. Swoosh on the back of Dizzy Lizard, who defends to the inside of turn 1, brings it back to the left-hand side, but it's going to give Swoosh a very nice run down towards turn 3. He's tucked up nicely in the slipstream on those medium tyres too. The Alpine tucked up in the Aston Martin slipstream. Can he go for the move? Does look to be a little bit too far back, unfortunately, but he's going to be all over the back of him now as Scott is looking to redeem himself. Mister and Ethan both getting themselves past the AI Haas there, but Scott is on a redemption charge now. He's on those softs. He needs to push, he needs to get himself going. That is the least ideal start that he could have asked for, but Lewis leads from Dizzy Lizard and Swoosh, your top 3, and one you probably would have betted on to challenge the lead in towards turn 1 is now down in P10 and is having to charge his way through. Ryan Kai to the inside of R1D and towards turn 9. Contact with between Scott and the Mercedes. Could be damage to his front wing. Any contact really is fatal here. So there's the McLaren of William Gaming also trying to get around the outside in towards turn 11 and 12. Can he get it done? Backs out, does the Mercedes. So William gets ahead and Tor also tries to get himself involved. A very, very tightly compacted field. Here comes Tor in towards the top 10. Gets himself ahead. The McLaren's going to come back in on though. Down the inside in towards turn 13. So close to contact between the two. Interlocking wheels as they're still side by side towards turn 14. But ahead goes William Gaming and stays ahead. The Williams though coming back at him. Torsiv makes contact to the right side. The left hand side of the McLaren forces him way off the circuit. That was way too ambitious from Tor, and that could be damage to both his front wing but also William Gaming's bargeboard area to the left hand side. Here comes Scott to the outside of Patterson, tries it, but that's never ever going to work in towards turn 1 and 2. Patterson had the right to take the racing line there, and Scott just a little bit too eager maybe to go around the outside, and a lot of progress now undone. He finds himself back in P10, could be P9. Ryan Kai down the inside of Patterson, Patterson on the outside. Oh, there's contact, they've both been sent into the wall. A big crash between Patterson and Ryan Kai as another safety car has been brought upon us. Swoosh Rider also out off the exit of turn 5. We've got a plethora of huge crashes now. The Alpine out, and that's very similar place to where we lost Cliff, I think it was, and a big crash. Big crash indeed. Patterson over the curb, just got himself a little bit caught up, but Scott has made the most of this. He's gone from 10th to 6th in a sequence of corners and now settles behind Tor. But yeah, Scott's going to need to push. I reckon, will he come into the pit lane again? I'm not sure. Maybe we can get some insider information if he pops himself into the chat. What is he going to do? And we'll have to wait and see. Another safety car though, lap 8 of 29, approaching a third of the way through this race. And unfortunately for Patterson and Ryan Kai that they had to come together. I think Patterson just got over that curb a little bit on the exit and just sent the rear wheel spinning and collected Ryan Kai, unfortunately. But it was a very, very chaotic restart, it must be said. I mean, not necessarily at the front as Lewis decides to come into the pit lane with a very bunched up field. He's coming in though, getting that free pit stop. He pulls into his pit box, and what's it going to be going on to the Williams there? It's going to be mediums, fresh yellow walled medium tyres to probably around about lap 20 or so, maybe even longer, maybe stretch them to the end. We'll have to see. Patterson and Ryan Kai both 5-second penalties for speeding in the pit lane. You have to adhere to, of course, the pit limit speed lane of, I think, 80 kilometres an hour here at Albert Park, not Melbourne Park. It's Melbourne City, but Albert Park. But yeah, Ryan Kai and Patterson both now 5-second penalty, 5-second stop goes for the next time they pit. Bit silly you can't serve it straight away, but what have you. Patterson has taken the decision to retire himself from the session and becomes our 4th retiree in 9 laps. So down now to just 10 runners. Patterson's probably going to go off and do some open lobbies now, I suppose. But fair enough to him. And, yeah, he was driving a good race up until then, but just got collected incidents that potentially wasn't his fault. But there was still a long way to go. He definitely could have carried on and probably maybe arguably should have, but it's his decision. If he doesn't feel like continuing on, that's fair enough. Dizzy Lizard then leads ahead of Mr. and Ethan. Top 3, you probably wouldn't have expected this early into the race. Maybe towards the end of it, but certainly not this early. And Lewis and Scott are both very, very close on track. Scott probably on the less than ideal strategy compared to Lewis. But let's see what he can do. I mean, I'm going to guess Lewis is going to try and stretch those to the end. If he can, fair play to him, but if not, he's probably going to pit towards the late stages of this race for softs. Scott has confirmed he's got side pod damage to one of the sides. I think he took quite a hit to the right hand side from Patterson, so maybe his barge board has got a bit of damage, maybe his monocoque has got a bit of damage, and that's going to hurt his aerodynamic performance a little bit. William Gaming into the pit lane, so unfortunately for Scott, it's going to be a very tough challenge from here on out in this race. He needs to really knuckle down and focus and make the most of the damage. I think maybe it was sustained when he went around the outside as Torsif comes out of the pit lane, in fact overtakes Scott under the safety car. Very weird thing to do. Ethan Thomas doing way better than I thought. I mean, you're in P3, you're still yet, oh well, you have pit, so you're on a good strategy. We'll have to see. And Swoosh, championship leader of Swoosh Rider, out of this race, as you can see there in P12. Got a bit caught up on the exit of turn 5, went sideways, probably caught it once, caught it twice, and then couldn't catch it a third time. And he's going to be absolutely gutted with that one. And Alpine, of course, both cars were flying very high in the points when Cliff retired, and Swoosh was flying the colours very well at the front for the French outfit, but in the end it just wasn't meant to be. But still a long season ahead. It's only round 4. Championship leader in both championships, both World Drivers and World Constructors, and that's going to be a huge blow to Alpine and Swoosh Strider in particular. But still a long way to go. Head up high and push on for next week. That's all you can do, is brush off today, learn from your mistakes. Where did you go wrong? And then improve it for next time. And you learn more from your losses than you do your wins. So always keep that in mind. There's always positives to take. The pace was there. You maybe just need to make a bit more of a stable setup. Look at your tyre wear, temperatures, whatever it might be. There's always something to learn from every mistake that you do. But nonetheless, safety car is in this lap, with Dizzy Lizard controlling the pace on those hard compound tyres as we negotiate through Sector 3. Dizzy Lizard lead from Mr. Behind Ethan Thomas, and R1D takes up your top 4 with Lewis in P5. Has he punched it already? Indeed he has, and he's going to catch up to the safety car very quickly, but he's caught off Mr. off guard here as Scott gets a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Torsif. We go back on the green flag racing. Mr.'s off before we go green flag. He's off at the penultimate corner. Around the outside goes Ethan. He's going to try and get the move done before the timing line, but you go green once more, then it's green flags out, and we're underway. Lap 10 of 29, lap 11 of 29, as Mr.'s going side by side with the Haas towards turn 1. Around the outside goes the Haas, the Rebel on the inside. He goes over the grass, does a bit of lawn mowing, and Ethan is now down to P3 once more. He's got the Mercedes of R1D all over the rear end of him, but can't quite convert. And around the outside of turn 1 and 2, never really going to work in an ideal situation. Torsif also retiring down now to just 9 runners, 8 runners in this race if you exclude Lawson. So definitely not the way we'd have wanted this race to go. Lewis then on the back of R1D. Scott also in this fight, maybe got a bit of damage. He's definitely got a bit of damage in the wall, and that's his front wing gone. That's a shame for him. He was off at turn 7, and now more yellow flags out, and a race ruined for Scott, a driver that could have been doing very well in this race, had the pace to certainly, but found himself spinning out. There's R1D going very much off the track of turn 9 and 10. Pulls his way back on with a bit of a damaged ego and potentially even a damaged Mercedes, and he's going to have to carry on. The closest gap now on track between Lewis and Ethan. These fresh medium tyres going to try and get himself up in towards the top 3 once more. The top 3 of Dizzy Lizard, Mr. and Ethan probably are going to have to pit again. We'll have to see what Lewis does though. In now to the penultimate final corner. Penultimate and final corner actually. No DRS of course until 3 laps after the safety car. The Williams tucked up nicely as he goes towards turn 1. Not quite going to be close enough, thinks better of it. Now towards turn 1 and then through turn 2. He's going to be in the slipstream, he's closing. Is he going to be closing enough? Ethan Thomas weaving around trying to break the slipstream as best he can. As they now coming towards turn 3, Scott into the pit lane, go for probably the hard compound tyres to the end of the race. Ethan struggling with Lewis breathing down his neck, putting that pressure on, but it's Australia, it's Albert Park. You really do struggle to find a way through. The Haas making that car as wide as possible, trying to hang on for the podium place. How long he can do that for? Maybe he's just postponing the inevitable. We'll have to wait and find out towards turn 9. He's going to just wait for that straight. I'm assuming does not want to make a mistake. Needs to keep himself calm. Many of his championship rivals are out of this race. A lot of the main title protagonists are either out of contention or out. Swoosh and Scott, two of those that you would expect to be up there, and they're definitely not going to be doing too well in this race. Now down towards turn 13. Lewis still on the back of Ethan, but not quite able to go for a move towards turn 13. Unfortunately going to be DRS very soon, but the Williams just putting that pressure on, trying to make the Haas get himself into a mistake. Both on pretty equal ties in terms of performance. In a few laps time though, Ethan's tyres are going to start to feel the effect. DRS has been enabled. They'll get the help down towards turn 13, but nothing much. He's using his brute engine strength to pull himself to the right hand side towards turn 1. Is he going to get himself ahead? The Haas has to back out, goes a little bit off the track, but up into the top 3 once more goes Lewis, with Ethan picking himself up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. So William Gaming now the next one in line to try and put that pressure on the Haas. Towards turn 7, a little bit uncommitted, you could say. Not the best run he would have wanted, but he's certainly still putting that pressure on. R1D getting himself past Lawson and up into the top 6. Lawson's AI, in fact, actually driving very well, higher than one of the championship protagonists of Scott, so not doing too bad at all. Now towards turn 11 and 12, there's William Gaming very close behind. Another safety car being brought out because Scott is out of the session. Ethan brakes to adhere to the Delta, but into the back of him goes William and picks himself up a 5-second time penalty once more. The McLaren a little bit caught out, maybe all over the back of the Haas, going for the move, didn't see the Delta maybe, and Ethan having to brake to adhere to it. The McLaren didn't back off soon enough, and he's going to have to come into the pit lane because he's not got a front wing at all. And that's a shame. And he's coming in, he's popping on some more medium tyres. He's somehow got some fresh medium tyres. And yeah, Ethan, he did hit you, but definitely not your fault whatsoever. You were braking to adhere to the Delta, and unfortunately for William, he just went into the back of you, which is a shame. But we'll see, and a shame for Scott as well, who got pole and just didn't have the consistency today, unfortunately. And that's the thing about Albert Park. I said it in the intro, I said it throughout qualifying. Couldn't really have predicted it better, really, could I? But we're under safety car. Go get yourself a drink, go to the toilet, wherever it might be. We'll be back racing it very shortly. Right, we are back now racing here in Albert Park. Safety car in this lap. The top two in the championship out, indeed they are. It's been a very hectic race so far. Down to just 8 runners, 7 proper drivers in this race. It's Mr. that leads from Ethan and Lewis in P3 on an absolute comeback drive now, though the top two still yet to pit as the Red Bull now negotiates the penultimate corner and looking to set himself up for the pit straight. He's already punched it now through the final corner, caught out Ethan quite significantly and leads now by nearly a second as we go to green flag racing once more. It's Mr. that leads from Ethan, Lewis in P3 with William Gaming getting past Lawson's car. And so too does Ryan K. William very slow. And around the outside goes Ryan K. to get himself back in front. Back at the front though, it's second and third. Lewis getting himself to the left-hand side. The Haas on the inside backs out though as Lewis sails past to get himself back inside the top two. And looking to chase after Mr. For the lead of the race. Lewis definitely the man with the pace. Just over halfway through this Grand Prix now. It's lap 16 of 29. We've had chaos up and down the field. William Gaming on the back of Ryan Kai looking to give us a bit of a show. Would have been more of a dramatic than exciting Australian Grand Prix. Not much in the way of wheel-to-wheel fighting. Looking to the right-hand side though. Tucks right back in though. Thinks better of that than to go for a move into this very tight and twisty chicane that is very, very awkward. As they now blitz their way through turn 10, setting themselves up for turn 11 and 12. And McLaren looking to find a way through the Alfa Romeo, trying to get past Ethan, in fact, as well. So it's now a three-way fight for P3. The fight for the podium definitely on. Dizzy Lizard as well, lurking in the background, looking to get involved. The McLaren looks, but doesn't send in towards turn 13. Ethan goes in deep, though. Ryan Kai looks to the inside of turn 14 again, though. The door shuts. And he can't quite find a way through. Looks to the left-hand side. Absolutely sends it up the inside. Gets it stopped. There's contact. William Gaming is going to go for the switcheroo on all of them. Goes for a double cutback. Is around the outside of the Alfa Romeo as they come onto the pit straight once more. Ethan has been absolutely mugged off by Dizzy Lizard as well. Down from 3rd to 6th as Ryan Kai and the McLaren run side by side towards turn 1. Ryan Kai on the inside backs out. And William Gaming up into the podium places. We now jump to the fight for the race lead. Mr. having to defend and looking in his mirrors from Lewis behind. He's putting a load of pressure on him. And the fight for the race lead is definitely happening. So too is this fight for the podium place. It's Mr. versus Lewis. It's William versus Ryan versus Dizzy versus Ethan for P3. A very chaotic turn of events at the moment on lap 17. But Ethan really not with much pace off the restart. Those tyres going to be starting to feel the effects very soon. Lewis on the back of Mr. is looking to regain that race lead. His main competitors are now out of this race. And it's now down to him to keep that car out of the wall and get it to the checkered flag now with only 12.5 laps remaining. 4/10 the gap between the two. No DRS, of course, until next lap. He's going to have to try and keep it clean. Over the curbs they go. So to do Ryan Kai, Dizzy Lizard and William Gaming there also now still fighting for position. Dizzy Lizard on the back of Ryan Kai. Is he close enough to go for the move? Doesn't look and doesn't send either. We cut back to the fight for the race lead. But nothing eventful happening between the two. A lot of sense happening. Ryan Kai is being very, very aggressive with his moves. Absolutely sent it, and unfortunately just come to contact. Defensive goes the Red Bull already to the inside, though, towards turn 1. Lewis just keeping his nerve, keeping to the left-hand side. The Red Bull comes back to the race line to open up the corner. DRS now enabled as we come onto lap 18 of 29. Lewis lurking. He's in the slipstream. The Red Bull weaving around, trying to break the toe. Goes defensive nearly to turn 3, but retakes the racing line, and the Williams having to stay back once more. Dizzy Lizard on the back, side by side with Ryan Kai to the outside. He's getting pushed all the way to the exit of the track, and the McLaren of William Gaming looking to find a way through also, but can't quite seem to find it open in another 3 seconds added onto his race time at the end. But Ryan Kai defending this position as if it's for the championship on the last lap of the season. Being very aggressive with his moves, with his offence. Being very impatient, but fair enough to him. He's just Biden getting his way through and trying to bide his time, but clearly not working for him. At the front though, Lewis trying to put that pressure on Mr. who goes in deep. There's a bit of contact between the two. Very, very scruffy fighting between them. But the Williams on the back of the Red Bull Still unable to find a way through as they go into the penultimate corner. Gets a lovely drive off, but can't use that momentum to go for a move into the final corner. He's going to have the drag reduction system. He's going to have overtake. The Red Bull defends. The Williams follows him. Weaving around the straight is Mister to try and break the toe. But here comes Lewis to the right-hand side. Gets him under brakes and into the lead he goes. Is Mister going to fight it around the outside? Tries, but it's never, ever going to work. And into the lead once more goes Lewis and Mister. Not with much to say about that one. Once it happened, it definitely did happen. And really didn't put up much of a defence. The fight for the podium though still on. Dizzy Lizard looking the favourite with no penalties to his name and going to the end very easily on those tyres. Should be at the very least going to the end on those tyres very easily. Now as William Gaming gets caught up over the curb slightly. And still Lewis managing to pull out a 1 second lead at the moment over second place man of Mister. So very, very quick. The man with the pace certainly is Lewis today. In the Williams, on board with William Gaming though as he goes very wide through turn 11 and 12. Unfortunately, making a mistake and losing touch of this top three fight. He's still within touching distance, and any battle in between the two definitely will see the McLaren close up. But I think it's just a matter of time before he starts to lose touch. Mister as well, very much struggling on those mediums, and you can see now pulling himself into the pit lane. So Dizzy Lizard and Ryan Kite promoted one place. Ryan Kite up into the top two. Dizzy Lizard into the top three with Mister a 5 second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Which is a shame for him as he comes out onto fresh soft compound tyres to the end of the race down in P7. But he's going to be on a charge. Absolutely, Ryan Kite low on ERS is going to be vulnerable. The Aston Martin looks. But the door shuts very quickly on the move for P2. He's going to need to bide his time a little bit more and maybe analyse where Ryan Kai might be a little bit slower and try and set up the move moments in advance, corners in advance even, and just analyse. You're constantly looking where you're quicker than your opponent, where you can gain time, where you might be able to set up a move, where it's possible. And you need to, especially at circuits like Albert Park, maybe not so at tracks that are a little bit easier to overtake, Monza or somewhere Silverstone, something like that. In a tight circuit like Albert Park, you need to pick your opportunities. You need to set up the move, put your opponent off, put the pressure on, put them into a mistake. And that's exactly what Dizzy Lizard is doing. But Ryan very quick through the middle sector. Dizzy Lizard unable to really launch an attack. Now 8 tenths the gap. And William Gaming being dropped behind a little bit. Now 2.2 seconds is William from the podium. His best bet is to keep it clean and maybe make the most of any mistakes that happen. This Aston Martin looks very understeery though. He really cannot get that car's front end to bite. Maybe he went for a little bit too much straight line speed orientation on his setup, and he's losing a lot of time to Ryan Kai, but he gains it all back down this straight. He's got the DRS just as he was within 1 second at the timing line. Now down to 7 tenths is the gap, and it's going to close even more with Ethan also into the pit lane, P6, and will probably come out around about the P7 mark, and will do. Last of the real runners we've got in this race. The Aston Martin going in very deep to turn 3 to avoid the rear end of Ryan Kai. He needs to put that pressure on, needs to get closer, because at the moment Ryan Kai is absolutely loving life, and in fact is just about closing to the leader of Lewis. And on penalties, let's see how many penalties Lewis has got. He's got 3 seconds, Ryan with 6. And at the moment, it is Dizzy Lizard that will win this race by a very marginal amount. But with only a few laps left to go, it's going to be very close between Dizzy Lizard and another race win. But with Dizzy Lizard, he's never really setting the timesheet to blaze. But he's always there. He was always consistent. He finishes the races. I say that, he's probably going to spin now over turn 11 and 12, bit shaky, but manages to keep it out of the wall. But he just needs to be consistent, follow Ryan Kai and try and use that pace, because it's very close. He's just within touching distance of the race lead, literally now retaking the race win. Not quite, he's just out of it now, needs to put that pressure on and maybe even get past Ryan Kai to open his legs a little bit. Going deep into the penultimate corner, really not going to help his advance. And Ryan Kai extending the gap, and DRS won't be enabled for Dizzy Lizard anymore. He needs to stay within 1 second as William Gaming comes also into the pit lane off his 7-lap-old medium tyres. Must have had a tap with the wall somewhere. As Ethan Thomas, the other Haas, gets past his ghosted teammate, a person who lagged out right at the start of the race. As Mister sets the fastest lap of the race on the soft compound tyres, a 1:23.874 for the Red Bull who is absolutely charging light fuel and fast tyres for him, is really helping him in this race. Now with Dizzy Lizard still fighting for the race win, only 2/10 off it at the moment, needs to dig deep and find something within himself. A yellow flag, R1D has gone off at turn 5, no full course yellow for the time being, he's managed to get going. Now still just off the race win is Dizzy Lizard. He really does need to just find something else, because Lewis, very touch and go. Any mistake from either driver could cost him this race win. And Ryan Kai is more just the middle man, separating the two. He's got a 6-second penalty and was very much out of contention for this race win unless Lewis gets himself another penalty, in which case he's just going to hand it more over to Dizzy Lizard, who just needs to keep it clean but also keep it quick in these final stages of the race. Into turn 3, Dizzy Lizard still putting that pressure on Ryan Kai, still unable to find a way through despite being on the better tyres, but with Ryan Kai closing on Lewis, maybe it's the better thing for Dizzy Lizard to just stick behind, have the benefit of DRS. We've got a spinner, I think, of William Gaming through the final corner. He's now back behind Ethan and down to P7. But still, Dizzy Lizard just within race winning distance. I think he's now fallen out of it once more. A poor run through turn 9 and 10. Could cost him. Now 1 second, he needs to stay in DRS though. It's going to be crucial for his race winning campaign if he falls out, as Ryan Kai goes very sideways off the exit of turn 11 and 12. Dizzy Lizard out of DRS contention, but still within contention for the race win. 2.6 seconds between Lewis and Dizzy Lizard. Very close times indeed. We'll go to the leader interval. 2.5 is the gap. Dizzy Lizard still there, and with only about 6 laps left to go, it's Lewis that leads from Ryan Kai and Dizzy Lizard, your provisional race leader. 2.2 is the gap, and they're both closing. Are Ryan Kai and Dizzy Lizard? A mistake from Lewis definitely costing him. That's William Gaming gone round once more at turn 5, and he's definitely having a right mare in that McLaren. The pace has looked good, but has he managed to get himself going again? I think he has managed to get it out of the barrier, and no full course yellow in effect. Dizzy Lizard still just needs to bring it home, not pick himself up a penalty, and he will see the checkered flag as the winner. Lewis just needs to be flawless from here on out, put those laps in, extend that gap. 1.8 between himself and Ryan Kai. That's not really what he's worrying about. He's looking at the Aston Martin, he's looking at the Delta at the time, and he needs to gain 5/10 in the next 6 or 5.5 laps. Now 6/10 as both Dizzy and Ryan close the gap. As there's a spinner, that's Ryan Kai off. He's off at turn 11 and 12 in the barrier and could be out of this race. Is out of this race. He smacked his rear left into the wall and is now out of the Australian Grand Prix. And that's going to hand the podium to Mr. No full course yellow in effect. As Mr. now drives past the scene of the accident, he just went sideways, bounced off the first wall, and then reversed into the second one and lost his rear left. That's unfortunate for Ryan Kai, who looked good for a podium finish. It's now a straight dash between Lewis and Dizzy Lizard. Dizzy Lizard unable to get the benefit of DRS though, so it's going to be pure pace between the top two to decide the race winner. He needs to stay within 3 seconds, around about 1.5 between him and the race win. Ethan Thomas also up into the top 5, chasing after R1D. Very big gaps throughout the field. William Gaming also has retired from the session, I believe, in the pit lane. So it won't be yellow flags for too long, and I don't think a full course yellow in effect. Lewis now reopening that gap above 3 seconds. Dizzy Lizard losing touch a little bit without the help of Ryan Kai, down to just 5 real runners left in this race. Ethan, R1D, Mr. Dizzy Lizard and Lewis, with Lawson and AI Khan, has been since the start of this race. To a shame. 2.9, he's managed to get himself back in within that margin. It's literally anyone's game at this point. 3 seconds for Lewis has really spiced this up now. It's a race against time between the two. Very, very touch and go on the margins. Lewis retakes the lead. And he's spun actually. Lewis is round off the penultimate corner. He's got damage to his front right end plate, has he? So Dizzy Lizard might not even need the penalty. Pulls to the right hand side. Lewis having to defend, squeezing him all the way to the edge of the track. The Aston Martin on the inside. The Williams squeezing him, pulls to the left hand side. Goes around the outside. Bit of contact between the two as they squirm their way through turn 1 and 2. Still now side by side. The Aston Martin takes the lead, but Lewis is going to try and come back at him. Is he? No, he's not. And that's now advantage Dizzy Lizard, because Lewis needs to get through and then regain that 3-second margin he once had. A costly mistake for the Williams may have cost him this race win, as Dizzy Lizard steps up, creates his own luck and gets himself into the race lead. A magnificent move down the inside of turn 1, and side by side they went. But yeah, that's a shame. Lewis, under the pressure, really did bottle it this time around, and he's still within touching distance. Anything can happen. If it can happen to Lewis, it can happen to Dizzy. But with only a few laps left to go, he just needs to bring it home and hope that he does not get caught up in any incidents of his own making or regardless in towards the final sector. Lewis, another 3-second penalty for multiple warnings, now up to 6 seconds total. And it looks like the race leader slipping away from him after that first mistake. He's pushing hard now, extending the track, and that's now just adding salt to the wound, really. Rubbing it in, that's twisting the knife after you've stabbed someone, because he's already been stabbed and now he's getting it twisted within him, and that's hurting ever more. 7 tenths is the gap. He's still got a fighting chance if Dizzy Lizard gets a penalty or two, as we go on to 27 or 29 now. Only 3 laps of this race remaining, and it's still a straight fight between the two leaders. Maybe not on time, but definitely on track. A massive gap to the rest of the field. Mister 14 seconds back, and he's the next on the podium. So the Williams and Aston Martin, the two British outlets, fighting strong at the front through turn 4. Lewis definitely the man with the pace, maybe not the consistency, because Dizzy has been flawless all race long and will have to defend, but he doesn't necessarily need to. Maybe just let the Williams go and chill in his DRS. William Gaming has left the session, the 7th man to in fact retire from this race. Now only 2.5 laps of this race remaining through turn 10, and we'll have the aid of DRS down towards turn 13 once more. 4 tenths down in his PB. Those tyres really starting to feel the effect of tyre wear. DRS open. Has he got the ERS to mount a challenge? I don't think he is going to be close enough, so Dizzy Lizard going to hang on to both the on-track and provisional race lead. But who knows if those penalties can be removed. You always want to win it on track just to be safe, because Lewis could always appeal his penalties, and maybe if he does win ahead, then could see himself take the win of the race. So Dizzy Lizard's going to defend with all his might and try and not let that Williams come through. Now down the pit straight for the penultimate lap, 28 of 29. The Williams pulls to the right hand side, gets himself ahead before the corner. Dizzy Lizard having to tuck in, but the Williams goes in deep. He's going to have the aid of DRS, is the Williams, to try and etch himself ahead. But the Aston Martin's got the benefit of slipstream as they hurdle down towards turn 3. Lewis ahead this time around. Dizzy Lizard having to settle in for second. But don't forget that on penalties it still will be the Aston Martin to take the win. He can still mount a challenge. He can always mount a challenge. 1 2/3 of a lap left to go. 28 of 29. It's been a drama-filled Australian Grand Prix. We've had safety cars, we've had VSCs, we've had crashes, we've had wheel-to-wheel action. We've had it all here for UFR round 4. What we haven't had is many people finishing the race, but things happen, and the bottle lid's certainly open around Albert Park today. And what a track that you would probably expect it to happen at, especially with the lethal turn 11 and 12 as we're approaching now. Lewis managed to negotiate it quite well, so too does Lizard, and they both live to get themselves on to the final lap. For now, Mr. still the holder of the final of the fastest lap, I should say. And now on to the final lap. Dizzy Lizard closing the gap slightly, still got the benefit of DRS. Oh, Lewis has gone round though on the final lap through turn 2. The Williams gets a massive tank slapper. Dizzy Lizard re-inherits the race lead on track, and Lewis, with any slimmer of hope that he did have of winning the race and appealing penalties, Now down to P2 on the final lap. What a way to do it. What a way to lose the race lead once again. And yeah, he's going to be definitely kicking himself for that one for a time, because, well, P2 is fantastic and all, P1 is definitely a lot sweeter. Dizzy Lizard, a very well-deserved winner if he can bring it home. Still got the infamous turn 11 and 12 left to go. He's negotiated 28 times before. What different is the 29th? But anything can happen. It will always spit you out if you make one error. This is probably the final challenge in his way. Just taking his way through, cruising his way through. Does not want to take any chances. So too with Lewis, only gaining a marginal amount. So pretty identical. Both very drained on ERS. You can see Dizzy Lizard already starting the celebrations, weaving around. He's got 7 seconds in hand with the 1.1 second gap and the 6 second penalty that Lewis has. Dizzy Lizard, the most consistent man on the grid tonight. Lewis threw everything at him, but with 6 seconds of penalties and mistakes, Lewis bottled the race lead. Dizzy Lizard comes across the line. He wins the Australian Grand Prix. Lewis in second. And we need to go make ourselves a cup of tea while we wait for the rest of them. Mr. rounds off the podium with a fantastic P3 result in the Red Bull. And a very nice way to finish off Australia. Good points in the bag and really spicing up the championship fight, with both leaders of Swoosh and Scott out of this race, and so too are the constructors leaders of Alpine also out of this race. Both drivers not scoring any points today, so really does throw the championship into disarray. Really spices things up for the remainder of the season. R1D in the Mercedes across the line takes P4. Ethan Thomas now we're waiting for as he calls himself across the line. P5, the last of those to finish, but I think the achievement is getting himself to the checkered flag in the first place. A lot of people didn't finish, so if you did, it's a decent 10 points going his way for P5, and a very good result as R1D claims driver of the day, getting to the end of the race, being consistent, and P4 definitely cannot complain, can the Mercedes driver. But after 29 laps of racing, we now see ourselves off. The Australian Grand Prix is drawn to a close. It was then Dizzy Lizard who took the win. Very consistent drive with Lewis in P2. Mr. rounding off the podium. R1D, driver of the day, starting from P11, finishing P4. Ethan in P5 with Lawson P6. The DNFs though, Ryan Kai in P7, William Gaming P8, Scott P9 with Torsiv in the top 10. Patterson P11, Swoosh in P12. That's going to be a blow to both his ego and his championship, down in P12 and not picking up a single point. Nathan in P13 with Cliff rounding off the grid in P14. It certainly was an interesting race down under for Australia. We had crashes, we had fights, but in the end of it, it came down to penalties and a mistake from Lewis to seal the deal for Dizzy Lizard, who took the win of round number 4. Still a long way to go in this season to come, and anything can happen. So with that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Zach Sweeney. I'll see you next week for round number 5. Hopefully a few more people finish that one, but until next time guys, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.